Hello and welcome to another horrific review. I'm joined once again by Dale as we continue our journey along the filmography path of Sir Peter Jackson. Tonight we're discussing The Hobbit An Unexpected Journey. Released in 2012, this film tells the story of a reluctant hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, who sets out to the Lonely Mountain with a spirited group of dwarves to reclaim their home. This movie was made on a budget of $315 million and brought in $1 billion at the box office. Hi Dale and welcome back.
Hi. Thank you for having me. Yes, wow.
Now it's crunch time.
Yeah, that's a big budget, isn't it? What a profit. Woohoo.
Yeah, but that's the bigger, 3 times the budget of The Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
Like, the Lord of the Rings movies were on $80-90 million budgets.
it's crazy.
And they were bringing in billion, you know, I mean, we've done those movies and they brought in the same sort of profit. So this is actually eating into the profit.
Yeah, wow.
This is the start. It was around about 2010, this culture began of the budget's just getting bigger and bigger, and there were diminishing returns, and everything was expected to be a blockbuster. And this is where it's starting to go wrong. And God, what an example. For a start, this should have only been 1 or maybe 2 movies.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been a trilogy.
No, not at all. No. Obviously that it had to be, but seriously, it didn't need to be.
Well, then that's Warner Brothers being stupid.
I mean, we're talking 3-hour movies. You know, it's Lord of the Rings all over again. You know, obviously because, well, he had to do it that way. But, you know, it's just after reading the book, which I finally finished.
Yeah, which
Yay
is
for me. Yeah, which is that compared to what came out of this movie. You know what? I thought I'd watched this before, but funnily enough, I hadn't. I'd actually watched the second one, I think.
Oh God, that's not a good place to start. We'll get to that next time. But there's Chris. Hi guys, recently watched this last year with my son. There's a really good movie in there, I think, with a good editor. Lots of unnecessary and drawn out scenes. Well, when you've got, what is that, 120-page book?
Yeah, I know, right?
The Hobbit is not a massive book, and a lot of the pages are songs. So the actual journey itself, I read this in school, and I made a board game of it. The Hobbit board game, just drawn. You know what I mean? It was arts and crafts in school, and I just drew it out and had the Lonely Mountain at the end, and they encountered all the trolls and the giants and everything. Just like snakes and ladders. You roll the dice, and people went along to get to it. But this was definitely The Hobbit was my introduction to fantasy. And that's what really spurred my imagination. If I'd never read The Hobbit, that would have been it. I'd just been a drone. This book really set a fire under me, and that's where I started looking for fantasy and started, wanting to tell stories, wanting to get involved with sort of production things, even from a young age. Even though I didn't, this is the book that really set it off. Such a shame the way this turned out, because if they had left Jackson alone and trusted him, they could have worked on the Silmarillion, and they could have worked on some of Christopher Tolkien's work, the Unfinished Tales. They could have had a 10-year plan, and it could have been reinvigorated. But because the studio is a studio, and now we see the state that Warner Brothers is in, sure, they didn't even flipping 25th anniversary. They never re-released these movies. There's instant, like we talked about that. There was money on the table, and because they're idiots, they never took advantage of it.
No, they don't think like that, do they?
They're meant to. They're supposed to be companies about making money, and now they're about everything but. And
it's gone insane. It's gone insane. It really has. I'm over it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm long. I'm not even angry anymore.
Yeah,
That's
it's kind of just got
I'm
used to it.
God, there's Steve messaged me. He's talking about flipping. I'd heard rumors of it, but yeah, it's confirmed they're bringing out I Am Legend 2.
Yes, they are. So I've heard as
Why?
well. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Why?
there wasn't even a book. I mean, it's not I Am Legend 2. I don't know. My gosh. Oh my God, people turning Mickey Mouse into a serial killer
Oh, that's
and
funny as hell. I did
I know,
but
right?
there's about different but that's just a stick at the Disney. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That is the best because there's about 5 characters entering public domain this year. Bambi's one of them.
It's getting ridiculous.
No, but the horror genre, that's what I love about the horror genre because other genres can't do it. We're a horror genre. What? We're going to make a movie? Yeah, we'll do that in a week. Boom. It'll be
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
It's that energy, creative energy that horror creators have that no one else does.
Yeah,
And I think this is the final trilogy that broke Peter Jackson. I think he had got too
possibly.
involved in Hollywood.
Yep.
He the studio demands, he got part of the machine, and that's why he doesn't do movies anymore.
Yeah, this broke him. Yep.
And
That was it. No more just documentaries and love passion, passion work.
yeah,
Just
mentoring people, which
passion
is
project.
cool.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
glad
exactly.
I'm glad he's not somebody that chases relevance.
Yeah. No, he knew when to leave, right?
Yeah.
He knew it was his time and he moved on, whereas others keep going when possibly their
Ridley
times
Scott,
are long gone.
Will Smith. Like, well, that's a stupid sequel. Doesn't need to happen.
Yes.
Flipping. Who's that other
Yeah.
one that's ruining things? Right, Ridley Scott's James Cameron. He's another one ruining
Oh,
things.
James Cameron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
The
just
green screen man.
yeah. And who do you call him? Martin Scorsese. That like does his 3 hour movies that are just the same gangster movie retold 100 times. You know what I mean?
Oh
There's a
God,
hope. There's
no.
a reason why I'm not interested in anything outside of horror. God, there's I've just seen an interview with Dennis Villeneuve for June 2, and it's I'm telling my story, not this story. And you're like, all right, okay. So I had my suspicions with the first one. I reviewed it on another channel. And I'm obviously going to be back for part 2 when it comes out in a couple
Yeah.
of weeks' time. But already I'm telling my own way. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is one of the crux points. This is where we see it going wrong.
Yeah. They just have no foresight, no insight. They're just yeah, that's why independent filmmakers are so important.
Yeah, even if they hit my guts because I laugh at their stuff.
Yep.
Sorry, sorry, Mr. Metropolitana.
Oh gosh.
Oh, that was glorious. He is my work. He laughed at it. You're not meant to do that.
If I could reach through the screen right now, I'd slap you silly. Cut it out.
I'm a bad person.
You
But
are.
here's the thing: even unintentional comedy, there's still more heart, and there's still a desire to actually make something.
Oh,
Where
hell yeah.
these studios and the mainstream media is just they're drones. Like I can't even laugh at any of this stuff. Like there's scenes here that you're meant to laugh at, and I couldn't because I'm just like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah, there were a couple of those moments. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, the first 2 acts of this movie I actually enjoyed. This is basically it's 3/4 of the book in the first part of the movie, and you can also tell even if you haven't read The Hobbit, you can tell this is padding. You can.
Oh, absolutely. I think really though you do have to read the book to understand that the fillers are a lot of travel scenes, just things that, were very, very actually like Lord of the Rings. Of course, they try to emulate that sort of thing. But yeah, no, there's the travel scenes and just a bit of the battle scenes maybe went a bit too long.
And it was constant. It was peril to peril to peril, where it just got a bit
It
ridiculous. So
was.
you didn't have like a cliffhanger, because you had about 6 cliffhanger scenes in this, which is like, come on. And by the end, you're just like, just
Yeah,
exhausted. You're like,
it's a wild ride, isn't it? It's just one intensity to the next, to the next, to the next. There's a little couple of moments in there where it's lightened, the mood's lightened actually a few times, I have to say.
mhm.
But yeah, the intensity level was very high. Yeah. So yeah, because this is my first time watching it, I'm actually quite blown away by how wonderful. I didn't think I'd like it that much because, well, the book was so short, and no, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when we'll talk about the second one's where it all goes wrong.
Really? Okay, I think it's
Well,
the second one I watched.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the Desolation of Smaug. That's when we get to that. We'll be a completely different review. This I had hope for, and it's interesting coming back to it. Like, of course, we get our first beheading in the prologue.
Oh God, I know, great, eh?
I just love looking out for them. Like, yeah, beheading, off with his head.
I know. And then there's a couple more beheadings, actually, isn't there?
Yeah, but we're getting like a retell. It was done the same way as Lord of the Rings. It was almost
Yep.
like, but
Even the
not as
beginning
good. Yeah,
music.
like he may
Yeah.
as well. Not Thorin, but his father may as well have been Isildur. Defeated, and
Right.
then Thorin Oakleigh may as well have been Isildur in the prologue. So it felt like padding, because we know it is.
Yeah.
If you've read the book, you know this is all just to fill out time.
Yeah.
If they had just let him alone, just right, I will get you 2 successful movies, and then we can look at another project. This would have, because this really did start to rot. And the thing is, they
God,
made
yeah.
profit initially, but Warner Brothers are in trouble now.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Like massively, like financially in trouble. And this is where this is all begun.
Going down the
Budget's
low.
getting too big, where it's unnecessary.
Yeah. Mm.
And we know what Peter Jackson can do with a limited budget, with his attention to detail. And this, you could feel the CGI in this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. More so than the Lord of the Rings, actually.
Absolutely.
So.
And it costs more and it looks cheaper.
Yeah, some of the scenes, some of the creatures did look a bit out of proportion. Some of them were a bit odd looking too.
Mm-hmm.
It was like some of those scenes when Legolas in Lord of the Rings sort of didn't look that good,
But
so.
there were only small scenes in an entire epic, so you could forgive it.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be happening, right? In any movie. But hey, they're playing around with, lots of different visual effects and whatever. So I guess they got away with it. Yeah, I think they got away with it. Definitely.
Yeah, but not so much in this one, because you can see it.
Yep, definitely, with some of the creatures. Yeah.
I did like the it was nice to see Elijah Wood and Ian Holm, back as Bilbo and Frodo.
That was so great.
And they set up right before Frodo runs off to meet Gandalf, and so you could automatically picture that part running into the next part.
Yeah, I know, right? Wow. Yeah, there were so many. Just seeing them again, Elijah Woods and, Frodo. That was just so cool. That was so cool seeing him come in the door. Oh, yeah. Wow, cool.
Yeah.
And see, I actually quite like that transition scene on the couch from the old Bilbo from Lord of the Rings turning into the young Bilbo with, what's his name, Freeman?
Martin Freeman. Yeah, the actor, I absolutely hate him. I don't like him.
Why?
Yeah, no, he's okay in this, but
yeah,
I've seen him in Sherlock. He's horrendous. I've seen in some of the Marvel stuff, he's horrendous. There's a
I
load of other
see.
movies. He has the same look, mannerism. He's just no.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
you're
as
right.
like once again. Peter Jackson proves he can get the best performances out of mediocre actors because Martin
Yeah.
Freeman, in my opinion, is a mediocre actor. He has
Yeah.
no range. He's just one characterization. That's it.
Okay. Because
Oh,
yeah, and this one I really enjoyed it.
yeah, but
Yeah.
once again,
So,
we've seen this with
and
Peter
Peter
Jackson.
Jackson.
It's his
Yeah.
style. This isn't Martin Freeman. This is Peter Jackson pulling Martin Freeman by the strings and getting a performance out of him. And
Yep.
I think he's got what the 100 takedown, to break someone down.
I think so.
You'll either do this right or we're here all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
300 takes later.
Yeah. He's good like that.
So once again, that's just testament to Peter Jackson. He can get the best performances even out of the not the best material.
Yeah. God. Even. Yeah.
Because if you look at Martin Freeman in other roles, and he's just exactly the same. And I just, like I said, I'm not a fan.
Yeah. I didn't like him in Sherlock Holmes. No.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't actually like Sherlock Holmes anyway. Period. So
some of the books are cool. The Arthur Conan Doyle books are interesting, but I don't like the modern Sherlock Holmes. I like some of the old school ones.
Yeah,
Excuse
definitely.
me. And the Baskervilles, it was always a cool story.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we'll go back. And then I'll just love the whole, because that was in the book almost verbatim, wasn't it? The good morning. Are you wishing me a good morning? Are you stating it's a good morning? That's all in the book, isn't it? That's
yes, I know. Cool, eh?
that whole dialogue, and I'm like, that was some of the cleverest dialogue.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And
Gosh.
so playful.
It is. It is. It's just we love. Gandalf's just so cool. It's awesome. Awesome character.
Yeah, but Tolkien's writing as well. And this wasn't just two actors, because once again, Ian McKellen, he would carry these books around with him. He's proper fan. So
it's like they were made for him. Yeah. He fits the Gandalf character just perfectly. Yeah, they couldn't have picked a better actor for him. Yeah.
Sean Connery apparently was approached and turned down the role because he thought that the whole thing was silly.
Really?
And he could understand it. And you're like, have you seen half of it? He was in Highlander too, so the Highlander movies. And he's in other stuff. And you're like, really, mate? Sean Connery's somebody who I think disappeared up his own backside.
He possibly did towards the end.
Yeah.
And some of his roles.
I think he just got a wee bit too full of his own self-importance, where actors like Christopher Lee and Ian McKellen, like they're just different class.
They're old school actors who put 100% into their roles. They have a responsibility to entertain, and they do it to the maximum. And as we know, Peter Jackson gets everything he wants out of his actors, no matter how many takes he has to do to make it perfect. Yeah, so but I think he might have lost it a bit on the CGI this time, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, that's this costs more, it looks worse.
I know.
It's they haven't figured. They think CGI is the easy way to do things because it's a bunch of people sitting in a lab, but it's not. It costs more. They're charging over the odds, and the movies aren't looking as good. And we've seen this pattern, and even today they're like cartoons, and that's not even. I like some animated stuff. There's some animated stuff done really well.
Yes, there are.
But live action with CGI isn't. It's just cheap and horrible, and
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think obviously there's too much trying to nod and wink to the movies, the Lord of the Rings movies with us, and not letting it breathe and be its own story. Because the Hobbit's a different tone. It's a kids, it is purely a kid's book. It's a lighter hearted one. It's classic, high fantasy adventure. Lord of the Rings is a step up. That's your young adult reading material, and that's a bit more grimness. But this had a this should have been allowed to be its own story instead of being chained to the previous trilogy, which it's so obvious even in this one, and this is the best out of the three of them.
This is the best out of the three of them.
Oh, this is the best movie out of the three of them. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Because it's the one of six closest to the actual story, but they couldn't, like they tried to make Thorin Oakenshield Aragorn 2.0 when he arrives in and all, and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. There were parallels, definitely, to Return of the Return of the King. Obviously, that thread carried through. Even I was thinking, even the eagle scene, that it was very, very, very Lord of the Rings type of situation. Yeah,
and they cut out the conversation with the Eagle King. Gandalf has a conversation.
Yeah,
with the eagles talk. They're intelligent. They're not beasts of burden.
Yeah. Well, no, I know. Well, that's not what they portrayed in the movie, right? But I really think that possibly because the eagles play a role in the Lord of the Rings, and where Gandalf doesn't have to have a huge conversation with any owl kings or anything, it would have failed the plot for the Lord of the Rings. It wouldn't, I think they had to carry on because they were used quite a couple of times in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Twice where he
once
didn't have to
when Gandalf escaped Isengard, and then at the end when they came to find him. But that's fine. They didn't need any more. But in the Hobbit, we actually get to meet the eagles and understand that like the dragons, they're an intelligent race. And there was a whole
that was
should have picked up the book, but there was a whole conversation to think about why they won't go to Lonely Mountain.
Yeah.
There was something about, there was a conversation which I can't remember now, but there's a bit in the book they actually left out.
That's right.
Because once again, this is chained.
And then that would have made sense as to why the eagles, why they didn't drop them off closer to the Lonely Mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they had that whole conversation in there, then we would have known that. Well, why didn't you go closer? Well, now we know why they didn't go closer to the Lonely, because we hear that in the dialogue between Gandalf and the king. So, it's just it's weird when they adapt books into movies and they leave bits out and embellish other bits, and it can end up looking a bit messy from the book. But I don't think
a short book.
Yeah, it is. But I don't think you need to read the book and able to get the whole sense of this movie. No.
Yeah.
In fact, it's quite a disappointment if you think about it to the book. I hate to say that, but
no, but if you're taking a short book and you're spinning it into 3 movies, and then you're actually leaving parts out of the short book, and you're adding all this extra stuff in, you're kind of like, what are you doing?
I know, right?
I'm almost getting flashbacks to Frighteners, you know what I mean? That sort of... This isn't Peter. This is discount Peter Jackson. This is Peter Jackson on a bad day.
Yeah, I know. I wonder what he was thinking. It's a great movie, this one.
I think this is 100% studio interference.
It's just got to be. Seriously, it's got to be. There's no other reason for it. He wouldn't drop the ball like this so badly.
No, I think this is 100% studio interference. They just wanted their cash grab. They wanted their, remember this, folk jangle the keys. Remember Lord of the Rings? Well, here we go again.
That's it.
And completely, once again, this is the start. This is started around about 2010. This is the start of this culture of, we don't want to do fan service. Why would we want to give our customers what we want? We hate our customers. This is the beginning of that culture.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Then they start bringing in, well, if you criticize this movie, you're an islamophobe and blah, blah. That came later. But this is the start of this. Because they haven't earned their place, a lot of these people in these studios are fathers and sons or friends of the established, the ones that built it. Now that they've seen this generation come in of what is the story? The father builds it, the son maintains it, and the son crashes the Lamborghini into the tree, or the grandson crashes the Lamborghini into the tree.
Yep.
It's at
Damn
we're at
right.
that stage of the grandkids are just the completely entitled, privileged. They're sons and daughters of actors and actresses, people in the Hollywood bubble. So they're being given jobs just to give them something to do.
Yeah.
And they don't have the talent.
No, they don't. And it shows.
And then because they don't, they show contempt to the people that do have talent. And I think, like, Peter Jackson came out of nowhere in terms of Hollywood. Let's be honest, because those of us that have followed him, and if you've been in this channel and followed the journey, would know the journey. He's worn there and earned his stripes. But I still think there's a lot of resentment, and there's such a petty little town.
Yeah.
That he completely swept people away, and the fact that 25 years later, people are still gushing over what he's done, and they can't even touch him. There's that bitterness and hatred there. If you're that sort of person and you're not talented and you're not humble, because you've never been told no in your life, and there's this shining example of someone that's got more talent in their baby finger than any of the rest of us will ever have. There's a resentment. I'm always worrying not to be that person. That's somebody I'd hate to become.
Yeah.
It's actually why I'm kind of frightened of success. Don't know if frightened is the word, but I'm dubious of it. Getting too big or getting too successful, because I'd hate to become that person.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We'll see it here. This is 100% the studio. Oh, just put a Lord of the Rings badge on it, and we'll just make it a generic movie, and follow the same formula.
Yeah. I think maybe it was just Peter Jackson thinking, he's going to break out into Hollywood again, and it's all going to be all excellent, blah, blah, blah. And, and he'll continue on. Maybe this was just the end of his reign, basically. He's realized that he doesn't want to be in Hollywood. He'd rather be just back home, chilling out, relaxing, and not having to do all that stressful work. I mean, how much work did he put into it,
Well, we looked at King Kong.
Oh, exactly.
That was his passion project. That was the thing he really, he just always wanted to retell that one. This, I think he was kind of, because he's part of the establishment at that point.
Yeah, and I think he got just taken away, on the just hoping it was just going to be, just fantastic, and it just wasn't. More interference this time than Lord of the Rings. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and I know I shouldn't compare them, but I can see more of Peter Jackson's personality in the Lord of the Rings than I did in this particular film. But however, I did see lots of homage to New Zealand, which was really cool, which is what we like Peter Jackson to do, obviously, because it's pretty cool.
But at the same time, it wasn't going to have the same effect. When we saw the Sweeping Vistas for the first time and put into the universe in Middle Earth, we've seen that, so it wasn't going to ever have the same impact. So you needed to tell a different story. I just think this is 100% Hollywood. Peter Jackson's basically been put at the front. This is back to this term now where you cast directors, you don't hire them.
Yes.
So the studio has their plot, their idea, what they want it to be, and they just want a name.
Yeah. Yep.
So the cast, you're Peter Jackson, you're associated with us, you'll bring the people in.
Yep.
But you're going to do it our way, and you can bloody see it. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. It is. It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah. Most disappointing part of this movie were the action scenes. Yep, highlighting Lord of the Rings, where there was a highlight in the Lord of the Rings, the action scenes. Yep, because they meant something, but in this they were comically unrealistic. No consequences. Yep. Fellowship Boromir died, but there's a million arrows and not one dwarf was hit. Yeah, it descended into farce. However, in defense of this one, up until this chase scene with the goblins, with the goblins, this movie was actually doing okay.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
was actually,
100%.
we'll get the opening scene. Gandalf's met Bilbo, and even before Bilbo, he's been coming to the Shire for age and age. And then when he sets him up, basically says this is the meeting point for the dwarves.
Yeah.
I remember when I first watched this being really irritated by the dining scene when all the dwarves arrive and just start helping themselves. But maybe that's just my personality, because I would go ballistic if it was me.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I've mellowed out because it wasn't this bad this time.
Oh, you're funny.
I got with the comedy
Oh,
of it.
yeah. I think he contained that really well. I thought that was really cool, them falling in the door. And then the dish scene. That's just with the dishes. That's just awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem as drawn out, where before it seemed to be that it just felt like a really long scene. But this, actually watching it again, it just seemed right. So
Oh,
the introduction of the character, you know what I mean? And that's because it is a totally different book.
yeah.
And the problem is, because of the prologue, you're expecting another Lord of the Rings. That's where
Yeah.
this kind of derails from the start. Is that prologue was so, it was just
Clickbait.
Sauron. Yeah, it was that
Yeah.
all over again. You're like, we don't need that again. This is a different
Yeah.
story.
Exactly.
If this had just opened up with Frodo and Bilbo,
Yeah.
that's what I said. The studio should have just stayed out and let him do. He could have done this in one movie.
Oh God, yeah, he could have.
If they
Absolutely.
really pushed him, then 2 movies.
Yeah, but no, definitely, I reckon 3 hours he could have done it, and it would look magnificent. Absolutely, it would have cut out a lot of the journey scenes. I mean, some of those scenes were just long and drawn out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are the fillers.
We didn't need the whole subplot of Sauron arriving. I remember when I watched it first in cinema. I thought it was going to be Morgoth. They were going to allow to do something different, but obviously, as we know, it is the necromancer Sauron, and you're like, why those things? And then the Morgul blade and all appearing just so we can have Easter eggs. You're like, all that is unnecessary.
It was. It was, and it became ridiculous actually. Towards the end, it was just like, you could have got to that part a hell of a lot sooner. I think like the Goblin world, they were in there too long as far as I was concerned.
That's where it lost me.
Yeah. That's when I think it all just began to look a bit ridiculous. The creatures, the goblins, looked out of proportion. Their body structures looked really odd. They look really odd. They didn't look scary and terrifying to me.
Well, look at the goblin. Got the goblins right in Lord of the Rings,
right?
Because it was the goblins that were in Moria, the mines of Moria.
Yeah,
not orcs.
Yeah, and they were absolutely horrifying, mate. Oh my God, they were terrifying. So it's like almost and then the trolls.
No, I like the troll scene.
It's awesome. No, I love it. I absolutely loved it. It was hilarious. They sounded like a bunch of freaking, I don't know, English footballers in a pub or some shit. I loved their accents. They were so great. And I actually started feeling sorry for them when they started getting chopped up and shot at and arrows and all that sort of stuff. I felt a bit sorry for them.
But that basically played out the same scene in the book, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
It's been, it was the scene with the trolls. That was played out the same way in the book, and that's they're dim-witted, they're slightly naive, they're just, really they're not doing anything terrible. They're big creatures that need to eat.
And they're just minding their own business. So I felt a bit
It's
Yeah.
because they attacked the party, and stole their horses, and
Yeah.
But that was the Hobbit. That's the only real scene in this that was purely the Hobbit. And,
Exactly.
and maybe the dinner scene, the supper scene where all the dwarves
Yes.
arrive. That was because the Hobbit is a different tone from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, definitely. It's all dark and dread and doom and gloom, but when I started seeing the visuals falling apart was actually when the trolls turn into stone.
Mhm.
When I saw those props, it was like, oh no, what? You could have done better than that. Oh my goodness. They just didn't, it wasn't right.
No, but this is the
Uh,
pattern. This is modern Hollywood now. Over bloated budget, 200, 300 million, and doesn't look as good because they're spending it in all the wrong places.
Totally.
And they won't trust the director. The the director's just
The
plunked
one
in place,
person
but
you
it's the
should be
studio.
trusting is, yeah, the one person you should be trusting is the director. You shouldn't have your hands in there too, but hey, they did what they did, and yeah, I mean, we
No.
got this. I thought it was good, but there were some scenes, yeah, that were just a write off for me. Yeah, which is a shame because after this is going to be the last movie that we're going to be doing of Sir Peter Jackson's, but it's sad to see that he's gone up so far and then come down again. But he's still a master, and we still know him.
But this would know why. It's not that
Yeah.
he all of a sudden became untalented. This is pure studio,
Right.
and this is the foreshadowing of what's ahead, what we're now seeing today.
I wonder if that's why he didn't make any more, was because it was ruining his reputation as a filmmaker,
Which
wasn't it?
reputation is everything,
It is.
and he'd already signed the contracts, and obviously you're you're in. If he had said no, probably what I mean would have sunk him. It's a very nasty. It's a nasty culture, which I don't understand the need for it. It doesn't need to be as cutthroat as it is.
Yeah, but that's the world we're in now.
Yeah,
It's dog world. So
but once again, you can still manage without this need to
of course you can.
destroy other people. That's why I'm not motivated by fame or money or personally because I don't want to enter that arena.
It would just change your life in the worst possible way, because then you get swayed to do one thing and then another, and yeah, it is yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
I
for
want my
everyone.
integrity. If I leave this planet poor without a penny to my name, but still have my integrity, I'm happy because
Yeah,
that's what's important to me. And I think this is what finally finished Peter Jackson with Hollywood. He's like, nah, my integrity's out the window, and
yeah,
everything that made him what he was is being torn apart.
yep, yep, yep. And
Uh,
that shows his character, doesn't it? His personality and his strength and his fortitude to keep to his moral basis. Even though he's as a film director, he's kind of got. There have been instances of him pushing the boundaries and maybe breaking some moral boundaries, but as an individual person, he's obviously a very strong soul.
yeah, and it's a rare thing today.
It is.
Um, yeah, and also another good, but and this is obviously after the trolls when they go into the cave and they find Glandring or Christ and Sting. Well, they didn't call it Sting then, but they know it's
Yep.
Sting. Those little things of the Hobbit, that's all we needed. We needed the finding of the swords. We need the finding of the ring. We need Bilbo going on his venture and
Yes.
becoming the black sheep of Hobbiton.
Yep.
That's all you need in this. But they just it's chained to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that's what's ruined this. Is because they can't set it aside, even though it's the same, setting. It's a different time. It's different characters. It's a different
Yeah.
story.
Different story
You
completely.
you didn't need to do all that.
Mm,
And this once again, this is studio treating the audience like they're idiots.
Yeah, yeah,
Here,
I think
remember
so
this
too.
thing?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Trying to go off the back of the Lord of the Rings. Oh
Which they
well.
didn't need to do again.
I think they probably did it because they used the same filmmaker, the same director. I think sometimes when trilogy sequels or whatever use a different director completely than the first one, then you see a different type of directing. But I think because he did the Lord of the Rings, he had no other option but to link it to the Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, because you're using the same environment, like the Shire
Hmm.
and Bree and all those places are still the same map as the Lord of the Rings, still in the same place. So I guess that's probably why. But who
Yeah,
knows?
it's like I said, this could have been two 90-minute movies. Let's put it like that, two 90-minute movies or 1 3 hour spectacle, and the
Yeah,
story would have
one
been
speeder.
told. And you
Yeah,
didn't need all this extra stuff.
no,
And then
no.
it gets even more ridiculous as we go on. Because
Mm.
I switched to, honestly, like I said, I was on board up to the trolls when they found the swords, when they go to Rivendell again, even having Saruman appear, which he didn't
Oh,
in the book.
he didn't in the book. No, no. So
Galadriel
that's
doesn't appear in the book either.
no. Only Eldron, wasn't it?
Elrond, yeah, it's only Elrond.
Was it? Yeah. Well, pushing out he wanted a trilogy, so had to bring in other characters, I guess.
Which is
I don't know, but
completely
it was
unnecessary.
lovely.
Radagast was it, Radagast was in the book.
Yes, but not like this. No,
No, no.
no,
God, I can't
no,
remember the name of that actor either. He's pretty well known, but yeah,
no. Can't remember his name,
no,
but
but Radagast, Radagast was in it. It was good to see Radagast. And I love the way he went from the goofiness, of absent-minded, his own world, when it needed to be serious.
yes,
He was
yes,
on point.
absolutely. Yep, yep, I agree. He is a cool character. He's odd and weird and absolutely nice, light-hearted bits. He was there when he needed to be, which was really good. He helped them out with the getting away from the wags. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was pretty cool.
There's
Yeah,
two
cool
lines
character.
in this that just made me absolutely cringe because it was so much of a like I hit you over the head. Remember Lord of the Rings? Whenever Gandalf was guiding him into the thing, he says, "In here, you fools!" It's like,
Oh,
oh right, okay, now we're getting a replication of the
right,
Balrog
you
scene.
fools.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
why are you doing that? You've just cheapened your previous work. And then when Saruman's like, oh, Radagast eats those mushrooms, have addled his mind. They've recreated the dialogue where he's saying about Gandalf smoking too much of the
That's
Hobbit's
how.
weed.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're like, why are you doing this? That's just you're actually actively tearing apart your own previous work with these cheap lines.
No, no. Yeah, it's all references to Lord of the
Yeah, but
Rings.
that's you don't need that with a story.
It's like
That's
banging the viewer on the head. Remember the Lord of the Rings? Remember that one?
but this is
Yeah.
the studio. It's not Peter Jackson. It's not Peter Jackson. I think Peter Jackson left alone would have just told the Hobbit the story, and that would have been it.
Yeah. Oh,
A part one, the part two, the appease the studio, and he wouldn't have tarnished his reputation the way he did.
yeah, I know. Oh, looking forward to watching the next
Oh God,
ones.
I'm not.
Oh,
But towards the end, like after the goblin scene, it just went stupid, and then it just reminded me because I was still going, "Oh, is this as bad as I thought? Was I just being overcritical?" Then I got to the goblin scene, and I'm like, "Oh right, this is where it all goes wrong," and then we've got this is it for the next two movies. Epic, action scene to action scene to action scene. Oh, they're in danger. Oh, they're in peril. Oh, there's a love triangle. Oh, they're in danger. Oh, they're in peril. Oh, there's a love triangle. Oh, guess what? Do you remember Sauron? Yeah, he's there.
mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just. Is this going to be a short review?
What can you say?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a short review than normal because there's not really much more to say about this. It's flipping
There's
painful.
really much more to say other than I love the ending with Smaug. Smaug. How do you pronounce his name?
Smaug. Yeah, Smaug.
Smaug. At the end, that was my favorite bit.
It's just funny. Like, so he thrush tapping a snail, and that's what it took to wake him up. You're like, no.
That's amazing. Yeah. But there was a whole scene with that, that was not in there. So, oh well, we have to wait for part 2.
Yeah.
I was so tempted to carry on. Seriously, I really, really enjoyed this. So I hope I'm not going to be too disappointed in the last 2, but I'm
yeah, this is where it gets like if you think about it, he's told 3/4 of the book in this movie.
I know what's left. What's left?
Just going to Lonely Mountain, that's it. And then Bilbo, encountering Smaug, because that's the biggest part. That's his, it wasn't about Thorin Oakenshield.
No, it wasn't. And I mean, a little bit was in there about Thorin, and obviously, but it wasn't based around him.
No.
They've done the return of the king trope again. The king going back to claim his heritage. It's just the same story repeated, except different characters.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Gollum, I'm so in love with Gollum. He is just, isn't he awesome? Just that scene with Gollum, and I'm so glad they did that because now we got to actually see how Bilbo got the ring. That was really cool scene. I just think that was one of my favorite ones next to the trolls.
Yeah, but that's actually part of the story. The Hobbit is Bilbo's story.
Exactly,
not
right.
Thorin's. Not Gandalf's, not Saruman's, not Sauron's,
Yeah. It was like, why are you even there? Why are you there? I know your name was mentioned in the book, but you weren't actually there. So, yeah, but you do get to see a little bit of you get to see the spark between Gandalf and Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was quite nice.
But once again, that was a made-up scene.
Yep.
Member berries and key jangle, whatever the term you want to use in pop culture. Yep. But it was basically remembered Lord of the Rings. That's going to be my phrase for this trilogy. Remembered Lord of the Rings, because that's what this is just doing. And you're like, mate, you're better than this. This is all a studio.
Yeah.
It's sad because this is the best one of the 3. It gets worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Because now we've got an entire film about a love triangle that really didn't need to happen.
Yes. Wow. We'll see.
The barrel scene, if I remember rightly, the barrel scene, when we get to that, I just died inside.
I think I remember that, and I tell you what, it had nothing to do with the book at all, did it? It was just like, oh my god, you completely. Anyway, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
We will get there, yeah, because this is all we can talk about. It's 3/4 of the book is told in this first movie. There's a quarter filler, so we know there's not much left to do. The rest is going to be 2 films of filler and fluff and unnecessary noise, and there's a reason why this was universally panned by people. And it'll be interesting to see the box office returns when we get the Battle of the Five Armies, because I think most of us, like me, checked out at the second one.
Really? Okay.
I think most of us just checked out and went, nah. She hadn't even seen the third one.
I haven't seen the third one, no.
So you checked out as well. So that's, I think it says it all.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't be bothered. No. Yeah. So
there's a portent for things to come, but yeah. This is not a happy time. Such a shame.
No. Oh, well.
Well, Dale, thank you for coming up. It was good. At least sad that we're finishing off on a bit of a low with these 3, but at least we're we'll get to see the journey and understand the whys and whens. So if you happen to be a budding filmmaker, don't make these mistakes and don't let studios bully you. Because
lesson learned.
Yep. But there you go. We will be back. Just even to say thanks again for everyone that tuned in and took part in the chat, and keep updated with the channel. Do the type of clicky things. Until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.